Being a long-term fan of the G.I. Joe A Real American Hero franchise, I had no idea growing up that it had a companion toy line of sorts overseas, namely the widely popular European-based Action Force by Palitoy. And while the two toy lines would converge to largely release the exact same figures after 1984, the earlier years of Action Force were quite different. The story of the other sub-teams are a tale for another day, but through much backstory, and I admit a combination of both subliminal as well as eventual direct messaging, I somehow wound up with a figure of the Action Force Space Leader, namely the Space Commander. Let's talk about this right here and now.
This is the Action Force Space Commander broadcasting from the space station. I hope you're well. Your orders are to track down a vintage Palitoy Space Commander from 1983. Place it into the Toy Connections toy collection and begin your Space Force collection. The Red Shadows are slowly taking over your area, and without a commander to lead the charge against Baron Ironblood and the Robo Skull, your fate will be no different than that of some burned out toaster ovens from your favourite 1986 robot movie. So hop online, ask your friends, and buy that figure. Space Commander out.
Yeesh, he didn't used to be so direct, but I guess the Red Shadows fleet must be closing in on the Toy Connections toy collection, so the situation must be more dire than I initially imagined. I mean, we still sometimes sit together on podcast episodes of Welcome to the Slaughterhouse over on the Sergeant Slaughter Slaughterhouse YouTube channel. I mean, for the most part, he just sat there, silent, humble, and unassuming until it was time to talk about old school Action Force or remind me that GoBots are somehow cooler than Transformers. But I digress. The Red Shadows are apparently closing in, so let's get started. I guess I forgot to tell Space Commander some time ago that I instinctively bought one of these old school Palitoy figures of him online, and as the story goes, I never actually stopped to think about it. I just clicked buy it now online, and before I knew it, it was shipped over to me. Now, that's not normally like me, as I prefer to know more about a figure or a character's backstory than to just impulse buy something. But when you sat for several hours on multiple podcast episodes with the guy in a yellow space hat, the long-term subliminal messaging just grabs hold of your collector instinct, and before you know it, you've got the item in your collection without a very direct explanation. To add to that, a number of years ago, I picked up a Space Force colored custom Viper done up by Red Laser's army. Without much backstory at the time, I thought it was just one of the other fun variants that Red Laser had done, but as I learned more about the original Action Force Space Force, I learned that it was supposed to be a reimagining of Space Commander if he were done up as an O-ring figure rather than a 5 POA style, and I thank Red Laser's army for getting this figure together and thinking to do him up in this particular color scheme. I know that the Space Commander often goes by the name Sky Raider alternately, and after some research about the custom company Red Laser's army, I did find out that Red Lasers originally intended for the figure's head to come with a fun school style Captain Gridiron head with the black hair, but that never came to fruition, and we ended up with a removable Viper head and helmet instead. That being said, I did have a beater 1990 regular release Captain Gridiron with the brown hair and figured it was close enough to make the head swap that Red Laser's army initially intended. I guess what I'm saying is, despite Space Commander's commands, I already have two of these in the collection, so I guess the joke's on him. It was just a matter of dusting them off, putting them front and center, and getting them ready to go toe-to-toe with the Red Shadows. I suppose one of them could lead the charge against the original Palitoy Roboskull, assuming I ever get one, and one can do battle against the modern, gorgeous Roboskull Mark II by Skeletron that I've got on the way. Either way, Space Commander, since this is what you asked, hopefully I've met your expectations, buddy. Till we meet again at the Slaughterhouse. Alright, judging by the look on his face, I'm going to assume he's satisfied. Alright, I guess this was my way of talking about what Space Force figures that I happen to own, all while getting the chance to share this creative development experience with a friend all the way from outer space, plus getting to share it with the rest of you out here on social media. I hope you had some fun with this. Anyway, special thanks to my Patreon supporters and channel members whose names can be found in the description section of this video. Visit patreon.com/toyconnection to become a patron yourself, or click the join button next to my channel name to support me via channel membership. And if you'd like to see more from yours truly, please click on some of my other content here. Subscribe if you already haven't, press that like button to spread this video to more viewers, and share it with your friends. Otherwise, yo Joe, full force, and I'll see you again soon with some more of my favorite toys. Thanks again, and take care.